Welcome, I am Rael Zieve and your host for Keep Traveling Your African Vacation, the only podcast which brings you insightful information in the African tourism industry by real tourism professionals. Today is another great episode and I have the pleasure of introducing Thomas Emanuel, who's a director of Ramapuram Holdings, a holding company of Evolveback, a tourism subsidiary, and their lodge, Gham Dhao, in the central Kalahari in Botswana. Thomas, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rael. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Listen, you're the first guest that I have that has a property in the middle of the Kalahari, so I'm super excited to learn about Gham Dhao. Tell me, first of all, where are you situated geographically?
Yes, so we're situated in Botswana, like you had mentioned. We are situated a bit away from the typical Botswana. We'd like to think we're away from the usually beaten path of the Delta. We're in the Kalahari. So most of the hospitality in Botswana is north of this town called Maun. We're on the south. We're in the Kalahari and we're a 110 square kilometer game reserve that is situated in the Kalahari in Botswana.
Okay, so just to make it a little bit clearer for my guests that are listening, for people coming from all over the world to Botswana, we want to get to your lodge. So let's say we arrive at Gaborone Airport. What's going to be the next transition or transitions to get to Gham Dhao?
Sure. Yes. So if you're going to reach Gaborone, which is the capital of Botswana, you would take a 1.5 hour flight from Gaborone to Maun. Maun is referred to as the tourist capital of Botswana because that's from where you take these small bush planes and go to your lodges. So accordingly, from Maun, you take a bush plane and you take a 50-minute very scenic flight and land in our lodge. We have our own airstrip and you're in our lodge. That said, I'd also like to mention Gaborone is not a very big airport. So typically what people do is they fly into Johannesburg and then they fly into Maun. From Johannesburg to Maun is another 2 hour flight. Johannesburg is much better connected. And from Maun, like I said, you could take a bush plane or you could take a 3-hour road journey through the jungles of the Kalahari and reach us as well. The third option is now Ethiopian Airways flies directly into Maun. So if you're really interested in a Botswana holiday, you can totally skip Johannesburg, fly directly to Maun every single day onwards from Addis Ababa.
Okay, fantastic. You mentioned the scenic drive from Maun to the lodge, 3 hours. That's not unbearable, but that must be quite an awesome experience as well.
I said the flight is scenic because you're going to fly at a lower altitude and it's a 50-minute flight. The drive, I wouldn't call it scenic, but it is interesting. If you are coming for the first time to Botswana, I'd really recommend at least one-way road journey. The terrain changes. You're traveling, on the edge of the central Kalahari Game Reserve for a long time before you get into the gate of our private reserve. There's a good chance to see animals on the way. And yes, it is an interesting experience, at least one way. Like you said, it's not too bad. It's 3.5 hours.
Okay, that sounds interesting. Now that we've finally got to the lodge, tell me a little bit about the actual lodge itself and what guests can expect when they arrive there.
It's called Evolveback Gham Dhao Lodge, like I was telling you. And Gham Dhao, in the sand Bushmen. Bushmen are native to the Kalahari. We've learnt it all in our textbooks and they're the oldest civilization on earth. And we're right in the heart of their home. We call our lodge Gham Dhao, which in the sand Bushman language, it means tracks of the lion. And, we'd like to keep our lodge, classically African. We want to give you that Kalahari experience, the Kalahari night sky, the animals of the Kalahari. They say only the strongest animals survive in the Kalahari. It is the driest place on earth. You need to be very, very strong. You need to be robust to be able to survive there. So it's a very different experience to the Okavango Delta in the north, which has much more plenty water and more food. So it's a very rugged experience. And what we are trying to offer at Gham Dhao is that typically African experience. So the lodges are built traditionally. The food is traditional. All our staff is 100% local. And we're going to give you, those game drives, the Bushman walk, the night skies. We have bush dinners. Once during your stay, you're not going to be dining in the main lodge. We're going to be taking you away in the middle of the jungle where we have this campfire and everything. So bush dinners are one thing. Then, of course, that's in a nutshell what you can expect in the lodge.
Okay, so you've spoken about those pieces in a nutshell. Give me a few of your more favorite activities that guests might want to do while they're at Gham Dhao.
Sure. A typical day obviously begins with a game drive, Rael. I mean, we go on what is called as an AM game drive. It starts with a bed coffee at 6 in the morning, and we set out when animals are still, the nocturnal creatures. So just as day is about to break, we have our qualified guides. So when we go on the game drive, we have a guide, and not only a guide, we have a tracker, a bushman tracker who knows the reserve by the back of his hand. He's able to understand much better where the animals are. And of course, we can see all kinds of animals. The star, obviously, is the black maned lion. He is native to the Kalahari. Many people come there to see the black maned lion. And of course, we have a very healthy lion population in our lodge. Other than that, we have the leopards, we have cheetahs, which is a little rarer sighting. But these are the big guns. I mean, I would say the famous ones. But we have little known, not so famous ones, not so popular ones, which is like the caracal, which is again only found in the Kalahari, the Cape fox, the honey badger, the hyenas. So we have all these other animals, and then there are the antelopes called the kudus, the impala, and of course the zebras, the giraffes, the kemsbok, wildebeest. You see all of these animals on the game drive. We have a lovely water hole right next to our main lodge building. I like to call it the city square. In a city square, you have everybody just coming in and having a community experience and talking to each other. At any point in time, you don't even really need to go on the game drive. You could just be sitting and having a cup of coffee or enjoying your breakfast. And many a times in the night, I've seen lions and lionesses. We have an elevated restaurant also overlooking the water hole, and that's another nice experience because you're seeing it from a height. We have a lovely pool, and we have a lovely library and all of that, and then you just relax there. There's a big difference between what you experience during the early morning game drive and what you can experience in the evening game drive. So you'd go on the evening game drive, you'd see a different version of the Kalahari, the dusk setting in, and it gets really beautiful. The sky is so clear, and this is what people come there for, is the game drives and to really see the vegetation and the animals of the Kalahari. Other than that, our rooms are very unique in Botswana. We acquired this lodge in 2019, just pre-pandemic. We've renovated it from the ground up. I mean, it's a brand new lodge, which we opened in 2023. One of the rooms that we have is a Skylux tent. We're one of the only lodges in Botswana that has a sky bed attached to your room. So you have a room, it's like a tent, and this sky bed is next to your room. Typically in most other lodges, it's called a sleep out experience, which you need to book in advance. You need to reserve it and you need to go there. It's a little away from the lodge, but this is our sky bed. It's really next to your room. All you need to do is open a door and it is at your disposal there. So many of our guests have spent the whole night there. It's their private sky bed. The room by itself is amazing. It's a huge room. I wouldn't say it's got all the creature comforts of a 5-star luxury. It's rustic, it's the Kalahari, but it has all the practical comforts like hot water and a huge bedroom. It can get quite hot in the Kalahari. So while we cannot air condition the whole room, given that we need to generate all our power ourselves, we've come up with the technology. The bed itself is air conditioned, and we of course have fans for the rest of the room. We have an indoor shower, we have an outdoor shower. That is the room. The principle and the ethos with which we build is another uniqueness for Evolve by Gham Dhao. If you see most lodges in Africa, you have a main lodge and you have these tents all around the main lodge. You could walk from the lodge to these tents. It's all walking distance. Our difference is that we have a main lodge, we have tents all around the main lodge, but each of those tents are a distance away. So literally you cannot see one tent from the other. We've deliberately designed it that way because we want you to get the feeling of living in the African bush. We don't want you to look out of your window and see another room. We don't want you to look out of your window and hear another person talking. We want you to feel like you're in the middle of the bush, you're in the middle of the jungle. In the nights, you can hear the lions roar. We want to take you a bit out of your comfort zone, really. We want to make you feel a bit scared. That's the thrill of being in Africa, and that's what we're trying to offer at our lodge.
Thomas, that's very, very interesting, and I wanted to touch on a couple of points that you mentioned. First of all, the sky bed. I've never experienced your sky bed, but I have slept under stars like you're mentioning, and I must be honest, I think everybody has to do that. So I'm really, really happy that you have that facility that people can choose. They don't have to book. You're quite correct that a lot of lodges offer that, but you have to book that in advance, and I'm super impressed that you've got that facility that people can just choose to do it. The other great facility that you have, that each lodge can't see any of the others and they're away from the main reception area. I'd like you to just tell me, do you have to escort guests back to their rooms after dinner because of the wildlife?
Yes, when you try to give the guests that kind of experience, it comes with its own challenges. We do not allow anyone to walk back to the room. We need to escort them. So anytime they need to be picked up or they need to be dropped, it requires us to drop them by vehicle to their individual rooms. So when we drop them, we ask them what time they want to be picked up, and then accordingly at that time we are there. The good news is we already had a very fast Wi-Fi in our main lodge building. That was about 6 months ago. And now we have Wi-Fi in every single one of our rooms as well, and it's a very, very fast Wi-Fi right in the middle of the jungle. Personally, I'm not very thrilled with it because I think we should not be connected, but I think the market demands a certain kind of connectivity. So we've decided that we're going to give it in the rooms, but we're not going to give it in the main lodge. So we're going to give that facility inside the room. We're not going to give it in the main lodge because in the main lodge, we want you to talk to us and we want you to talk to each other. The reason I speak of Wi-Fi is because you brought it up, and many guests were like, what if I change my mind and I suddenly want to come back sooner than what I said? God forbid it's an emergency. What do, right? You're surely not going to run from your tent all the way to the main lodge, which is anywhere between 200 to 500 meters away.
I hear you. Listen, I hear you 100%. People must make their own choices as well. If they want to be disconnected, they can easily switch off their phone. And to be totally honest with you, if I'm coming to your lodge or any other lodge, I'm very happy to switch my phone off. But to each their own, right?
Absolutely.
Sorry, you also mentioned the honey badger, and I just want to touch on that animal because a lot of people are going to hear the word honey badger and think of this cute little animal that's cuddly and that type of thing. And I don't know how much you know about it, Thomas, but I've encountered the honey badger a couple of times, and they are ferocious animals. They punch well above their weight.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, their looks can be very deceiving. Though I've not seen them in action, I'll be honest. It's something that you find in the Kalahari. We have a resident honey badger, which is right inside our meal lodge. He comes into our kitchen in the night, and we have camera traps and everything. African wildcat is another one that you see in our reserve as well. So these are some of the not so well-known animals that you can expect to see at Gham Dhao Lodge.
Thomas, you mentioned briefly about your staff being completely from Botswana. Tell me if you're doing anything as far as training programs or upliftment programs for your staff, bringing people through your system.
Sure. Staff are, especially in a lodge like ours, you're far away. You're in the middle of the jungle. So I don't know if you know how Botswana operates. The labor laws operate there is that you work for 3 months every single day. That is all 90 days. Then I get a month off. And that repeats 3 times a year. During that time that you're working, you don't get a single day off. That's how it is. And then you get a month off at the end of 3 months. So it's very important to keep them motivated. From the time we have acquired the lodge, we've really upgraded the staff facilities as a very basic step before we move into training. We've built new staff tents everywhere. We've given them Wi-Fi. They need to be entertained. They're in the middle of the jungle. They need to wind down after a hard day. We've provided for that. Before we came in, they had to cook their own food, even in the middle of duty. So we've come up with a staff cafeteria, like a kind of breakout zone. Every meal is provided by the lodge. There's nothing they need to do because we don't expect them to work 9 hours a day, go back and do their own cooking. I wouldn't say that's really uplifting the staff. We needed to get the basics done first. We've sent our guides for rifle trainings. We've sent our housekeeping staff for other trainings. We do trainings because we already have this experience of running hospitality for 30 years from India. With the benefit of technology, we're able to do a lot of online training without them having to leave the lodge. So those are the things. And then, of course, we've consciously kept it entirely Botswana citizen-centric. Every single 35 of them working for us are local, are from in and around that area. They're all very happy. They've got good jobs and they're able to make a good living for themselves.
Okay, that sounds really great that you're giving back in that particular way. Obviously, the lodge being situated so far away from the maddening crowd, what do you do in terms of your power requirements? Tell us how you're managing that.
Yes, because we're so far away, we obviously don't have any kind of government power. We need to develop all of that ourselves. And like you rightly said, we have installed a small solar plant when we took it up, but it's become very heavy duty now because we've renovated the rooms. Even the staff now have solar power. We'd like to think we're 100% solar lodge, but when the battery does not charge well enough, we have to use the generator for some hours in a day, depending on how much energy we're able to get from the sun. So I would say about 80% of our energy needs are from solar, and the rest 20% is currently the generator. We have to keep on increasing the capacity of our solar plant as we add more and more facilities. Our aim is to become 100% solar.
Okay, that shouldn't be too difficult because let's be honest, 99% of the days are full of sun in the Kalahari. So you should be just fine with that. Thomas, I want to touch on you yourself. Give us a little bit of a history as to Ramapuram Holdings, where you started and how you've gotten to where you are today.
We're a family business based in the southern part of India. Up until 1994, we were happy running these plantations. The plantation business, like running coffee plantations or rubber plantations, it's an easy kind of a business. Then in 1994, my father's generation decided we have this coffee plantation in a place called Coorg in southern India. We decided to clear up that plantation and create a small 10-room hotel there. And that time it was called Orange County Resorts. So Ramapuram is my family name and Orange County was the brand. So we called it Orange County because in that place, other than coffee, we used to grow oranges as well. We just decided to call it Orange County. So we started that property. It was a 10-room property. And then by the grace of God, it became successful. We then opened our second property, which is just 3 hours away, which is a tiger reserve in India called the Nagarole Tiger Reserve. Then in 2016, we opened our third property in India, which is a palace-style property in a UNESCO World Heritage Site called Hampi. By then, we were looking to expand and we were looking at opportunities outside, and we came up with this lovely opportunity in Botswana. We felt potential and we acquired this lodge in Botswana in the end of 2019. We've been running it for 5 years now. Our plan is to expand further into Botswana and into other places, because run a successful hotel company, I think you need a chain of lodges. You need the scale that comes with it, and that's what is our vision for the future.
That's fantastic. But what listeners can't see is that you have a fantastic head of hair and there's no gray in your hair. But what I can promise you is as you grow your business and you have more properties, the next time we speak, Thomas, I'm going to be looking at a gray-headed man, I reckon.
It's an optical illusion. I'm losing hair. Maybe when you see me in person, you'll probably get a better idea.
Listen, I'm super excited that the family has chosen to invest in Africa. I think African tourism is a huge opportunity and I wish you well in your future endeavors. I know that you and the group have been kind enough in offering a prize giveaway to the podcast listeners. Please tell us in your own words what you're going to be giving away.
Sure. We're happy to offer a 2-night stay at Gham Dhao Lodge. It includes all your meals, everything for 2 people, for a couple at Gham Dhao Lodge. So all what I mentioned, you can experience all the animals of the Kalahari. You can experience the night skies. The other game drive that we do usually happens after dinner. So after dinner, we take you for a drive in the night. It's a totally different experience altogether. First is the stars. Second is the animals that you can see, and spotting them becomes more difficult. I personally spotted a lioness and cubs on a night drive on our airstrip because they like to be out in the open, and it was amazing to see them in the night. So you can experience all this, and the most amazing food. Every single meal is a la carte. We place a big emphasis on the food and beverage experience in addition to the wildlife. We have a lovely group of chefs, and they're going to take extremely good care of you.
Listen, Thomas, thank you very much. I'm super grateful for that. And thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciated your time and energy. And I look forward to having you on the show in the future.
Thank you, Rael. Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed it.
That was Thomas Emanuel from Gham Dhao Lodge in the central Kalahari in Botswana. Do not forget that awesome prize giveaway of a 2-night all-inclusive stay at Gham Dhao Lodge. All the entry details can be found in the show notes of this episode, or head over to www.wildsunsets.travel/podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please rate the show on Apple Podcasts or drop me an email. Tune in again next week when I will be chatting to another great guest. My name is Rael Zieve, and consider this. A few years from now, you will not remember how much it cost you, but you will still remember the memories you made. Keep traveling.